Okay, so we also had a question about how we can encourage a healthy work-life balance. And what we can see here in Sweden on the legislative level is that, for example, parents do have the right to start working part-time when they have a child, and they can do so up until the child is 8 years old, which a lot of mostly women use to work part-time to be able to cover work and family and achieve a better work-life balance. And we also have, as you may know, the world's probably most generous parental leave insurance. So parents in Sweden can, if they are two parents, they get a total of 480 days to take off for their child. And over the last few years, we have been earmarking these some of these days to each parent. So since 2016, 90 days can be taken out only by the mother, and 90 days only by the father, and the rest of the days they can split if they see fit. And what we have seen, of course, is that this legislation has had an impact, and that more fathers are taking out. They're taking out more of the parental leave, and they're also taking out longer parental leave than they were before these. Before the days were earmarked to each parent in this way. However, we do still see that women do take still about 70% of the parental leave, and men 30%. But the numbers are rising, and it's also looking a bit differently between different groups. We will also put some more information on this in the material that we will give you. But these kind of legislation, of course, do make it easier for people of all genders to achieve a slightly better work-life balance. And we also have, as you may know, very affordable public childcare in Sweden, which makes it possible for parents to also join the workforce and work, because almost everyone or everyone who wants to has access to very affordable childcare, which of course makes it easier for parents to work. And we do also see an interesting trend now since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, that more people are starting to work from home, which is, of course, saving time on commuting, for example. And in some ways, there's a risk that this could make it worse for gender equality, because now women would take even more responsibility for the home and the family, because people are at home more and there's more to do in the home. But this could also, if we use it as an opportunity, be an opportunity to increase work-life balance, because people don't need to go into offices or workplaces physically as much, which makes the time for commuting shorter, and you can use this time for other activities to use with your family or interests or hobbies. So we do have an opportunity in Sweden and in many places of the world to use this to achieve a better work-life balance, and to sort of also take into consideration what is actually meaningful. Should we put so much focus on working that many hours per week, or should we make it? Should we shift our focus to more back to family and interests and hobbies and all these other things that matter to people besides their work? So regarding paternity leave, as we mentioned before, Sweden does have what is likely the world's most generous parental leave insurance, with 480 days. And as we mentioned, now 90 days are earmarked to the mother and 90 to the father, which has, of course, shifted both that men are taking more parental leave, but also, of course, over time, this shifts the view on parenting, because it signals very strongly that both parents should take responsibility. And that we also know that because women still do take a lot more leave than men, they are still being affected with their careers being affected, their wages, how they are developing, the pensions that they get when they're older because they leave the workforce for a longer time and they work more part-time, and these kind of things. So this is really something that is important, and legislation has really helped here to make fathers do take more parental leave. And what we can see is that before we started earmarking any of these months in the parental insurance, there was only about 14% of fathers who took 3 months or more of parental leave. And now, since we have 3 months earmarked to either parent, that is up to 40%. So we do see a shift in that more and more men are taking the responsibility and taking more leave. What we should note is that even if we sometimes see that there is a balance, that the balance is becoming better and better in how people are taking their paid leave, parental leave days, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is always as equal as it looks, because we know that women still tend to also take more days off without being paid. And we also know that apart from these 480 days that you get for each child, you also get an unlimited number of days to take care of a child who's sick and take off time from work to care for its sick child. And here we still see that women take a much larger bulk of these sick days, which of course can spread out up until the child is into the school years. So over the course of a child's first years up to the school age, women still do take off a lot more of the days, even if it's slowly getting better. And what we also can see in the latest research here in Sweden is that in some social circles, it is now becoming more and more high status to be what we call a latte dad. So a dad who does stay home with his child and does go out to see other dads and hang out with them and be a parent and be there for his child. But then what we're still lagging is that women are still taking more care of the children, but they're also taking more care of elderly relatives, which are sort of forgotten sometimes in these discussions. So the men in Sweden still have work to do, even if they are getting a lot better, thanks to legislation and also, of course, thanks to cultural shifts in norms and expectations of genders.